So in this video, we're going to be watching a small group teacher table instruction, proving doubles and working with it. This is a first grade teacher, and we're going to be looking at, and throughout this video, 5.5 minutes we're going to watch, I'm going to be highlighting some things that the teacher does and says, highlighting some things that the students do and say. Remember, the strength of anecdotal note taking is that it happens in vivo almost, live action, very much action research in the moment. So as students are doing and working, you're taking a note either in paper or mental notes so you can reflect later on of their strengths and struggles. And so in the moment, you can be working with them and seeing what they can and can't do and adjusting instruction. And then the anecdotal note taking helps you to plan for the next activity for them to keep moving them forward, and very much in that zone of proximal development kind of activity building. So we're going to be watching this teacher, and I'm going to be pausing here and there, and then we'll have a second activity afterwards. So let's go ahead and see what she's doing. Before the instruction actually begins, she is reactivating their background knowledge, not necessarily with the concept, but different ways to prove the answer to get them using those materials and manipulatives.
Make sure you're right side up for your number pathway. If that is your so I'm going to ask one of you to pull out a number. And whatever number it is, you're going to write it as a double equation and pick your way to prove to me that your answer is correct. So you may already know it in your head, and that's okay. If you want to solve it right away with what you think you know, go ahead. But I still want you to prove it to me using some method. All right? Okay, Nina, pick a card anytime. Oh, all right, that's it. Double two. Go ahead.
Wait, all of them?
Everybody,
Okay.
double it. Henry, you found the double inside it too, which was fabulous. I didn't quite explain what I wanted you to do. So now can you do it for two, honey? Can you?
The student misunderstood the instructions and still did the correct activity. The teacher then expounds and said you did it for that, which is fabulous. Now let's do the doubles of two.
Can you double two? Two plus two. How are you going to prove to me that you're right? Or super fast. I already stopped paper flash. Now I'm bored with finger flash. Can you show me something else? You've got all these great tools. What's your tool of choice? Oh, he did a.
Here we can see that all the students, we can call this boy in a solid shirt, boy in a plaid shirt, short-haired girl, a long-haired girl. We can see that they've all done it, not him just yet. One of the concerns I have right here is that each of the students could be looking at each other's work, and so again, she is redirecting and asking them to show their work with some kind of model manipulative. She can see that they understand here, whether they are looking or doing it on their own, but she needs to know and prove that they understand.
As well. Can you show me on the math graph 2 plus 2? How about can you show me on the 10 graph 2 plus 2?
Here, to make sure that they're showing in different ways and maybe they can't work at the same time together, short-haired girl is showing her work on the math rack, whereas the long-haired girl is going to show them her work on the mate 10. Or 10 frame, I apologize.
I know it's an easy You know what? First, you know what I thought that was? I could have. You're right. It does look like 11. I thought they were 10s. No.
Here's a great entry point to make a note. He wrote number line or the dashes or tallies above each number to represent the quantity. So 2 and 2, so you put 1, 2, 1, 2. The teacher is understanding it as maybe it's a 10 frame. She might not be using the vocabulary correctly, and again, this is in Texas. He's talking about it being ones, and so in my notes, I'll write that down. It's important to note that because if it was in Texas and we're using those vocabulary words, it'd be a great entry point to the next step up in your anecdotal notes. The strengths is that he can do the work and he knows what he's doing. Moving forward, the next steps would be to make sure we're using the academic vocabulary. And though he's writing it on his paper, let's get him manipulated out to make sure he uses it correctly. And then slowly try to take away that scaffold to see if he can do it mentally.
So you did it for one class one. I got it. I thought that you were just making it. All right. Interesting here how you did it in parts, right? Part, and then you can see the whole is coming. I'm gonna hope. I may actually. Can you double 7? Not what we did with 2.
Now the task is to do a double step. So long-term girl gets to work writing. Boy in plaid shirt gets to work writing. And so does short-haired girl get to work writing. Boy in solid shirt is looking around for visual cues and or he's just thinking. We can see here that the short-haired girl and the boy in plaid are using one of their graphic organizers to make pen to solve this.
When you start the equation, you do a step. Rate it as
7 plus 7.
Here the teacher is giving the student a prompt. He's struggling a bit. He's not sure where to begin. So she prompts him, well, how about you write the equation 7 plus 7? She's giving him that audio kind of prompt. He's writing on the board to help give him a visual, and then from that visual, he can then take it and make something for himself.
Got 7.
I was wondering where you want to do it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We can see here that the boy in plaid is doing his work counting, and I can tell that he's typing or making dots to count for 7. That's a thing to note. He's using dots. He needs some kind of scaffold. The dots do take a long time, 1 to 7. It's useful for small numbers, but when we get to double digits or even triple digits, it's something that we can't necessarily use. So it's good to note that he knows how to use strategies. A step forward or strength going forward would be to give him a strategy that's more applicable to the things he's doing and something he can generalize to lots of other areas. And we'll talk about that later.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Before you leave, I'm going to ask you a question. Could you use the 5 groups to count that fast?
We're going to pause right here. The short-haired girl was able to use counters, and she's going to finish it up. 7 yellow, 5 red, and she's probably going to add 2 more red. The teacher then prompts the student in plaid shirt because he did the work, 7 plus 7, 7 dots plus 7 more dots, and he got 14. But again, that's a lot of room to make an error. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you got to count again, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. When she says, is there a make 5, or is there a 5 there, or something like that, that helps this student right here unintentionally and gives him something to latch onto. So as a teacher, I'm looking what he grasps onto. He didn't get the 7 plus 7 written out in the sort of abstract algorithm, but he does get the make 5. That's a connection there that he knows how to use. That's good to note. It is important to note that in the notes.
I see a 5 group anywhere.
5. Me. 6, 7. I see a 5 group. 5. I break it. 10. 12. 10, 11, 12. And then there's 4, 5, 6.
I'm going to focus on Jacob.
Just by listening to him, I know he's talking about 4. So when we have 7 plus 7, well, she's talking about making a 5. We can decompose 7 into 5 and 2 because students know how to count by 2s and how to count by 5s. So most likely, and as we'll see in a minute, he on his paper has put the 7 plus 7, it's really 2 plus 5, 2 plus 5. The 2 5s make a 10, that's his 5, make a 5, that's 10. And then he has 2 left over from each, so 2 plus 2 is 4. And so he's saying 4 and 10. So he has the answer. He just had to break it down and deconstruct it a bit differently to get that number.
To repeat over here for a second, we're trying to see if there was a way to count his dots using a 5 ruler. And he got to 10. Show them where you got 10.
Yep.
Okay, so the parts will be how many? 5 and is 10.
Now it's important to note here the student in flag needed the counters and dots to make 10 to get his numbers. Most likely he wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, next row 1, 2, next row 1, 2, 3, 4. Kept going that way. The student over here is on the same kind of understanding as this student right here, making 5. He is able to make a 5, but he needed a recall for that, whereas this student made a 5 but didn't understand necessarily how or why that was important. It's important to note these little skills and strategies as they build fluency later on. If our students can see a number as 7, but note that it also means 1, 6, 0, 7, 3, 4, 4, 3, 5, 2, 1, 6, 6, 1, all the variations of that number, the fluidity within that, and being able to manipulate those numbers with ease is what creates really strong mathematicians for our students. And this is one of those foundational skills that we need to be instilling in our kids in lower grades. So it's important to note as you're taking anecdotal notes of things that they can do and connections they make. Because if he's making this connection with the make 5, and so is he kind of working the same way, going forward in my notes, I'm going to be intentional about including those pieces as scaffolds, whether in small group, whole group, individual work, because including those scaffolds right there that ignite that understanding without too much extra work or planning is going to pay off in dividends later on.
What's that? So you could see 10 and 4, right? Like we've been practicing knowing the teams are 10 and some more. But you're breaking 7 apart, right? You're decomposing it into 5 plus 1 is 7. You wrote 5 out of 7, how many would you have left?
2, and then put 2.
Writing the anecdotal notes, it would be important to see and note that the previous activity he needed 2 and 2, and he did 2 and 2, he broke it apart as being 1, 1, and 1, 1. He already has the skill of decomposing a number. He can take that skill of decomposing a number for small numbers into bigger numbers, which is what he's doing right now. He just needs a prompt and a scaffold to get there. And so this is what information comes from anecdotal note taking, individual pieces about how they get to a point in the moment. From here, I know the students are working on doubles and making tens. So what I might do next is then go to lead forward or anything that has my TEKS-based information. And then knowing the TEKS-based information, I can go and find the exact TEK he's working on. It's important to go find the TEKS because that tells you the TEK that he's working on and the entire verbiage of it. But then also you can look at other TEKs in the area to understand what they're working on together. And so if I'm looking in this document right here, I can go ahead and find the double TEKs, which is could be any of the ones over here, 1-3B, objects to solve, composing 10, 1-3C, fact strategies, 1-3D. Most likely I'm thinking that it's going to be 1-3D applying basic fact strategies as doubles the basic fact strategy. So if I take this information from this TEK right here and I go ahead and put it to my anecdotal note-taking sheet that I've been working on ongoingly, well then I can see that this may be the learning objective right here. I'm going to go ahead and paste. Doubles, and there's the TEK. I have all the information about what my kids can and what we're doing. From these areas right here, I can then start adding suggestions. So for boy in solid shirt, he can do all these different things, doubles. The next step would be something to the effect of providing manipulatives, working on vocabulary, as he was saying, um, tens or lines or ones or things like that. So as a teacher, he also could make doubles, but making sure he can decompose and explain the parts of a number. This is one of those activities and skills. You have the activities, you have what they're learning in the class, and then you start taking notes. And then after you see the notes, find the TEK, and then you put some suggestions.